This is how we do it. This is how we do it. Sha-la-la-la-la-la. Hey, happy Tuesday. We are talking about blame because this week we're talking ownership. So grab your cup of coffee, your water, whatever you drink, and let's get honest with each other. So I love the topic of blame because it's something that we so are quick to do. It's easy to do. Whose fault was it? Or maybe it's not something big. Like it's easy. It maybe in a if there's here's my cat. You want to say hi, Booger? Say hi, sweet girl. There she is. She rescued me 4 years ago. So maybe there's a car accident. And the police come and they say, well, whose fault is it? And they start taking notes. So it's easy for us to say, well, I was just sitting at the stoplight. It wasn't my fault. It was someone else's. So there are those situations. We also have situations where maybe you step in a puddle of mud. Oh, I'm so angry. We get really angry at these situations because our shoes are dirty and nobody wants that. Or maybe the door was locked. You anticipated it to be open and the door was locked and you're really angry. Whose fault is this? And so throughout our day, whether it be big or small, we start to play the whose fault is it game. And the truth is, the powerful question we should be asking ourselves is, what is our responsibility? You see, when we start to play this blame game, when we're pointing fingers and whose fault is it, it puts us into a position, and I'm about to say it, that most of us don't want to be in, and that's a victim. And without us even realizing it, because we stepped into that puddle and we got our shoes dirty and it was the puddle's fault, we're the victim. We're the victim of dirty shoes. Truth. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But that's exactly what happens. And when we ask ourselves, what can we learn from a situation? What is our responsibility? It takes on a completely different form. I believe there's a certain risk to living in this life. Just like we talked about yesterday. When you wear white shoes, there's a risk with that. If you wear white pants and it's the first day of your period, yeah, there's a certain level of risk that happens with that. And life in general, whether it be car accidents that just happen on the road, people accidentally get hit by a driver that wasn't paying attention. Maybe they're in their vehicle, maybe they're not. Maybe you're on a motorcycle and you're whizzing by people. Maybe you're not even whizzing by people and somebody just didn't see you. They didn't check their rearview mirror. The truth is, things happen in this life. I know they're making these automated vehicles, but even then, are they going to be accident proof? I don't know. I mean, there's less traffic in the air, and yet things could still happen up there. You just never know. We never know when these things are going to be happening. There's a risk. There's always a risk. And so when we're making this blame game, when we're looking at everything and saying, boy, it's his fault, it's her fault, it's that thing's fault, instead of taking ownership, then we take ourselves out in this victim position instead of being in the power position. I think about the time when I looked at my career for many, many years. I worked in IT and it bounced around. And I was doing project management and I was leading infrastructure teams and was doing logistics and procurement. And it went really all over the board. And I blamed my bosses, really, because they said, oh, Jen, here's a job. Here's the job for you. So I'd take it. I didn't have any other option, right? What were my options? I get fired. So I just, okay, all right, I will take that job. And it wasn't really a job that I wanted, but it was a job that I took. And I was like, I'd get excited about it because I do like learning new things and new challenges and all of that. But it didn't align with my career. And it was very easy for me for many years to blame my boss, blame the company, blame the situation. But really think about it. I told my subconscious that, no, Jen, you don't have a say in this. The world happens to you. You don't happen to the world. Whatever the world wants to dish to you, you take. You don't have a say in this. That's legit what I told myself in my subconscious. So here I thought I was doing great things with my career, whatever. Wasn't 100% happy with where I was, but I knew good things were happening. But I had this resentment as well because I knew some of these jobs didn't align with what I wanted to do. And if my career focus was here, why did I keep playing this game over here, bouncing wherever they wanted me? And I remember when I decided to stick up for myself. I had a new boss that started, and I knew he was coming in to change. I was reporting into the chief information officer. And if you're ever reporting to the highest person and the highest person changes positions, you get a new person that comes in, there's probably changes that are going to happen. They're going to insource, they're going to outsource, they're going to change their direct reports, they're going to restructure the organization, they're going to try to save money, spend money, change something, do something. That's just how it works, typically. So I knew, because I reported to the top, that changes were probably going to happen. And I knew the company was also not in good financial position. I just knew that. So the day came and my boss asked me if I'd be interested in taking over this other team. Now, I was already managing a team and it was a comparable level. So this would have been a sidestep for me. And quite frankly, it was a position that I've already done in my past career. Maybe not quite at that level, but I've already managed that kind of team. So if I'm trying to have a well-rounded resume, if here's my goal, and I know that in order to achieve this goal, I need to have a well-rounded resume, that for me to go take a position that I've already taken doesn't advance me. Now, once upon a time, when I was the victim, when the world happened to me and Jen didn't happen to the world, I would have said yes. I would have. But I said, thank you for the consideration, but I'm not interested. And here's why. Because if I want this position one day, which was his, I said, if I want your position, I need to have a well-rounded resume. And I already have infrastructure. I have procurement. I have project management. So for me, security and app dev is what I would need in order to have that well-rounded resume for one day for me to step into your shoes. So I said my piece. I gave my answer. I even gave a solution. I didn't just leave it to, no, thank you, have a nice day. I justified myself. I said where I wanted to be. And I even gave some options because I knew restructuring was happening. So, and I don't know, maybe there'd be opportunity in one of these other areas. I just never know. A few months later, on March 4th, I got a message from HR. Jen, can you come into the HR office? Can you come meet me over here? And I knew what was going on. I grabbed my purse. I grabbed my taxes because I was going to the tax office later that day and I couldn't leave all my stuff at the office because I knew they wouldn't let me go back to my desk. And I grabbed my jacket and I went to the HR office. And my boss was in there. And it's funny because my boss and I were just in a meeting 5 minutes before, a different meeting. that had nothing to do with the conversation we were about to have with HR. And my boss said, Jen, we've made some changes and your position has been eliminated. Today will be your last day. Thank you for your time. I said, okay. Thank you for the opportunity. It was nice to work for you. And that was it. My boss left and I was there with HR, and HR started handing me all my paperwork, and I'm going through everything. And, there was not 1 ounce of anxiety that I had in that moment. None. I wasn't fearful. I wasn't resentful. I didn't blame. There's a lot of things I could have said. Screw you, company, because they told me that my health insurance benefits were ending in 2 days. 2 days. 2 days I had. By the way, this is when COVID happened. And we all knew that this was coming. The world was shutting down. Jobs were going away. And not once did I blame. I said, okay, this is my opportunity to take my part-time passion for people, for personal development, for helping reconnect women to themselves, and for me to take this full-time. Nothing happened to me. I'm going to happen to the world. I felt good when I walked out of that room from my boss when he asked me if I wanted to take on this other team, because I stood up for myself. You always have a choice. My ownership in that situation was standing up for me. I own that, because otherwise someone else is going to own it. I had a responsibility to myself. And I stood up for myself. And you know what? Just because you stand up and say something doesn't mean it's going to work out the way that you think it will. Let me say that again. Just because you stand up and say something for yourself doesn't mean it's always going to work out the way you think it will. But it's going to work out the way it's supposed to. Because my higher power has a plan that I can't see, and I don't know, and I don't understand. But when I have that level of trust and I say the world is always working for me, not against me. Yeah, these things happen. Life happens. There is a risk to living. COVID could happen. It could happen again, or something else. We don't know. It's just part of the thing. It's part of us being here. What are we going to do about it? Do the blame game? Say I'm such a victim here. I got laid off. Boo-hoo, woe is me. Or am I going to say, wait, this is my opportunity to shine. I want to bring women back to a place of living instead of existing. I want to help give them the tools in their mind so that they can go face the world and do it with a bang. I want to help bring happiness and joy and peace and clarity and better health and all of the things to these women. That's what I'm going to do with this time. Thank you for this opportunity, for telling me that my time in corporate is done. Thank you for that. That's so much more powerful than saying, screw this company. You know what happens when we get anger inside of us? It permeates. It permeates. And when it starts, it continues, and it starts here and it ends up as something huge over here. There's someone that goes out and dislikes my posts every single day. And I know who it is. And it's a woman who's angry. She's angry. And she's done a lot of different things against me. So I very well could retaliate. I very well could. Oh, I'm so angry at her for doing this thing to me. Or I could take the higher road. And I could pray for her. And I have. Not every day, but I have. That she find peace. Because what's happening is all she sees is red. And when she sees that, she wants to go out and dislike my stuff every day. Sabotage me. Sabotage this mission. I know this. I know it's happening. But what do you want to take? The higher road or the road full of anger, the road full of hate? And when we tell ourselves that we're a victim, that's not the power position. That introduces negativity into us, and that starts to permeate one to one to one to one. Think about a situation in your own life. Maybe it's somebody you know, maybe it's not you. And you think, gosh, why are you so angry? All because of this? Because it spirals. Because it spirals. That's what anger does. That's what negativity does. So we don't want to blame. We want to look at where our ownership is. We want to put ourselves in the power position, in that positive position, because we don't want any of this whiplash. And I will tell you what, when you start to take ownership of your space, of your company, as the CEO, you are going to be put in positions where you have to take ownership and accountability, and it had nothing to do with you. But the respect that you will gain by taking ownership, by looking for solutions, by coming up with a game plan and moving forward is going to far exceed than if you pointed fingers and did nothing about it. Listen to that again. Because if you are the CEO, you will be put in situations. And guess what? We are all CEOs. We are CEOs of this. So if you are not the CEO of a company, you are the CEO of your own world. And the respect that you will get is when you take ownership of the situation. It may not be your fault, but you take responsibility for the follow-up actions, for cleaning up the situation, for rectifying the situation, remedying it, whatever that may be. You take ownership and accountability for the lessons learned so that they don't happen again. It's this balance that we have every single day. There is a risk to life. There is a risk to partnering with somebody. There is a risk to building a business. There is a risk to wearing white shoes and white pants. There's a risk to crossing the street. There is always a risk. That's it. And do you want to be in the power position or in the victim position? The respect that you will get from your own self and from other people is when you take that power position, when you take that higher road, not power as in dictator power, but when you take ownership and accountability, when you take the higher road and say, you know what, there is nothing that we can do about the past, absolutely nothing. But we can look at what we can learn from the situation and the road ahead. And that's what we choose to do. That is where we want to be. So as you go out and you start whatever you're doing, everything in life, start to pay attention. Are you blaming? Or do you take responsibility? Do you look for that blame, the fault, or the responsibility? When you step in that puddle, do you say, oh man, that's that puddle? Or do you say, wow, maybe I should have paid attention to the ground. Next time I'll pay attention to the ground. When you slip and fall, do you say, man, I slipped and fell. Now my ankle hurts. Oh, the world. Or do you say, man, maybe I could have paid attention a little bit better. Or maybe I shouldn't have worn those shoes. And just move on. Are you blaming? Are you finding the fault? Or are you taking responsibility? And with that, I'm going to leave it there because I want this really to resonate. Go back and listen to this. We want to take responsibility of our lives. And I know sometimes it's hard because we've got pride, we've got ego. But pride and ego isn't what gets you respect. Taking responsibility does. So With that, I want to make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and share this with your friends, because this isn't made just for you and me. It's made for everybody, which is why there's this algorithm in YouTube where the more likes and the more subscribes, the more people we're able to reach. And I want us all to wake up and get intentional about our day, right, ladies? So like, subscribe, and join me here, because I'm here every single day at 6 a.m. Central Time. And you can go out to higherinheels.com. Make sure you go get a copy of our monthly magazine. I'm coming up. I want the world to know we're gonna let it show. Is it I? Wait, what, ladies? We're coming up. We want the world to know we're gonna let it show. That's right. I'll see you here tomorrow. Cheers.